Välkommen till Toast and Talk, podden där vi skålar för spännande samtal och inspirerande möten. Jag heter Jesper Kask och är vd på Västers och tillsammans med våra fantastiska gäster diskuterar vi allt som ryms inom mat och dryck, event och upplevelser. Skål och välkommen! Dagens gäst är ingen mindre än Falko Siecke, grundare och vd på Experience by Terra, ett av Europas hetaste bolag idag inom catering och eventupplevelser, direkt från Budapest. Så jag hoppar över till engelska och kör igång. I'm really happy and glad to welcome Falko today from Experience by Terra, the CEO and founder of the company. Happy to have you here. Welcome on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, and glad that we can record these beautiful podcasts and share some of our insights.
We hope it's beautiful anyway. We'll see. No, but it's great to have you here, and I wanted to sort of kick off by for those who are listening and probably don't know Experience by Terra and you yourself. What's your tell us a bit about your background and how you ended up in the catering business.
Yeah. Basically, I originally from Germany, from Berlin, and I started my career with age 15. So I skipped everything what called school, university, or any additional studies. So I was so hungry to start this profession in real life. So basically I left school with 10 and then started my traineeship in Germany. And then in 2002, I moved to France, being there for 8 years and lived in the nice areas of France, like Côte d'Azur, Paris, and as well in the French Alps. While I attended as well 6 years of that time in the Four Seasons in Provence. That was definitely, I think, one of the major impact in my life. Having the French gastronomy and having as well a 2-star Michelin restaurant there on the resort. Learned everything from the pre-opening, from the grand chefs from France, the attitude, the service etiquette, and basically as well the cooking style. So I took a lot away from there, and then I met my love basically here in Budapest. And in 2010, basically, I could do a transition from the Four Seasons property in Provence to Budapest and worked there until 2017. So basically 14 years with the company. And back in time, I had already a bit this feeling that I wanted to create more in my personal life. Specifically, events was always on my side to basically create for every event a different feeling. And this was a moment in 2017 where I thought, okay, there is a chance in the city of Budapest where premium events does not exist yet. So I took the chance and basically founded the company Terra in 2017.
That's great. And we sort of found you guys through when we were looking to get inspired at Västers last spring, I think it was. We started looking around, who are the major players in Europe, and when Googling extensively, your name came up on more than one occasion, and you guys were kind of new to us. So what inspired you to start Terra, and what's the story behind it?
I think we are in a transition, and we started as well with the view of bringing something new to the table. I always get inspired as well by entertaining. I think when you come to an event, it should be never boring. When I see, even though on high-class events, when they serve you amazing food, still the people are sitting there for 3 hours and get a little bit bored. And this was a feeling from beginning onwards where I said, how can I give it a twist? How can I make the people enjoy more than just good food? And for me, it's like a playground for children where you can come up with so many new creative ideas in order to entertain the people without being too much, but give it a nice, beautiful framework. So when we started before COVID, we basically set up a company as, first of all, a premium feeling. nicer food, nicer porcelain, nicer service. So all this basically aligned us in a way of like a premium quality caterer. After COVID, we have then basically moved forward to form and shape the company more into like a dining experience company. So today, I would even slowly not call ourselves anymore as a catering company, rather as a company who designs experiences. And every time, and this is actually so funny, without that the people having like a thought on our name, but every time when we're doing a menu tasting for a new client, which again just happened last week in Vienna, we get approached that this was an experience and not it was great food. So basically we're shifting away from these traditional like catering style where we serve maybe good food, a good glass of wine, to rather like how we can entertain at every step of the dinner and before and after, the entire impact of the guest feelings. So when they're like standing up and leaving the venue, that they say, "Oh my God, I had such a great moment," and basically when they're starting to talk about food, it's maybe like on the third or fourth of their appreciation points. But the first ones is always the experience, and that drives us actually further and further to like perfection this entire scenario of the events.
So how does, if you were to explain it to the listeners in more detail, how does your sort of catering experience or your experience in total differ from the more traditional views of catering? Because they can, to be frank, the traditional views of catering is that it can be quite dull and quite boring.
So basically, at first we have a guideline. The guideline is how do we convert a Michelin star experience in catering? That is quite tough, because what attracts me personally, and that has something to do with the background of our chef and as well my background, that we both coming from the Michelin star restaurant service. So what attracts me here is like the details, the fine presentation, and all these little extra gimmicks. If it's the pre-dessert, if it's the petit four, if it's the amuse-bouche. So there's always something around the dining experience which complements and make this whole like dining bigger, better, and more vast. So we try, for example, when it comes to like a service, just giving you like a few samples. When the guests are sitting down, before we start with any like water service, we're giving them a warm towel to clean their hands, which is, let's say, perfumed with L'Occitane Verveine. So this is a small, nice touch. And if it's like for 10 or for 300 guests, that's the service what we do for everyone. Then when it comes to, let's say, the bread and butter service, here we became very creative. So, for example, we created a candle which looks like which looks like a small table candle, but actually this candle is a butter candle. And when the guests are sitting down, they're having this butter candle in front of them. They have no idea what it is. Our waiter is coming. They're offering the guest a small lighter. So the guest will say, like, what shall I do with the lighter? And then we will tell the guest, this lighter is actually for your candle in front of you, which you can light, and this is actually your butter. And then the guests are having these like total creative impacts and surprise effects, while the fire is actually, the lighter is branded as well, or it can be branded. That gives like an additional service. So these are the small effects where I would say it's not too much. It gives like a nice small creative impact on the dining experience where guests are positively surprised. And then of course we wanted to go like a little bit further. We have as well like an oil service where we use a beautiful bottle, looks like I don't know, like a fantastic design bottle, Actually, we're using an oil from Beau-de-Provence, which is in southern France. And there is another container where we're having like a rice paper on the container, covering the container. And on this rice paper, we have a QR code. And first we will ask the guest, please scan the QR code. That will link you to a video where Falko is explaining on the video what to do with it. And at the end, I'm going to eat the rice paper. So basically, the QR code is an eatable, consumable rice paper. And people are, again, completely like stunned. Oh my God, what can I do with it? And then once they lift the QR code, we're going to serve the oil in it, and they can enjoy their oil service. So basically, this small like topics we will like implement to make the overall dining experience better. And this is happening actually for every course. Every course there is something which we add, which we do without being too much, let's say. And that's important as well. We don't want to grab the full attention to us. We have to respect as well the guests enjoying the food and like enjoying the wine. So we always like being there around to give like an experience which is basically complementing the entire dinner.
So it's all a lot of small details and finding sort of
Exactly.
like small surprising elements that elevate the experience, I guess. Then.
Yeah.
And what do you?
And
yeah, sorry.
So no, and with this topic actually now we went a few steps further. We're saying like, okay, if somebody really wants to have the full experience, then we would love to design a complete designed dining concept, which we already did last week, a month ago, sorry, in Vienna. We created a Purple Rain dinner show extravaganza. This dinner show basically is from A to Z, a fully synchronized event, which has a very specific scenography where we're actually putting artists, singer, dancers combined with a very, very synchronized show, which includes as well the food service. So basically, it is a combined multisensory dining concept where you enjoy within like 2.5 hours a show which basically is absolutely overblasting. And that's something when you say like I'm going to a concert or I'm going to like a real show. This is exactly like that what we're going to combine now with the culinary effect, where all these little gimmicks basically are involved as well, what I explained before with the butter. So at every course there is something which is special, but at the same time we are now merging it within a dining concept with music and art. And this is a complete new level, which we believe, even though, can be attractive for clients in whole Europe. So we are creating now these concepts to sell it as an entire package in Europe for high-end clientele. And again, this is something where we believe it can definitely be attractive because we have it done completely in terms of scenography, in terms of logistic and design. So that's a concept which we can like resell to other clients if they're interested.
That's intriguing. And I think you mentioned when we met actually that you called it emotional catering, trying to sort of stimulate all of the senses, which is what you're describing there, and having everything come together as one. That's really interesting.
It is really like that you go on a show, right? When you go to a concert, then you are emotionally driven by the music. So you choose on purpose something where you say like, I love this musician and I'm going to the concert because I love it. Yeah. And this is a little bit the same effect what we're trying to do. However, you are sitting down and enjoying on top of that great food, great wines, and a great show. And I think this is kind of rare because like when you have events, they're rather like show you on stage a specific show or a specific music, and then like slowly you're going to get served with your food. But these like inclusion of the culinary like topic within the event, I think this is pretty rare. And again, like we worked months to really like design this event, so this is something which personally I have not really seen before neither.
That's exciting. And in terms of you mentioned sort of like trying to create the Michelin star restaurant experience outside of a restaurant. What's the biggest challenge in doing that?
Yeah, it's definitely the quantity. So within a restaurant with a Michelin star, you have clients which are basically served one after the other, and every dish is micromanaged in perfection. And now you have to do that for like 100 or 200 people at the same time, including dietary. So I think the difficulty is for us rather in the background. To really like prepare not only the food but as well the logistic, the food service, the service on the table, the drinks, everything has to be massively pre-organized. So when we are like coming to our events, for example, and we're preparing for the reception, then you have probably seen as well that there is a lot of, let's say, flowers what we use on our, let's say, canapes. We use flowers as well on our cocktails with a little stem on the left hand side of the glass. So there is a lot of decoration basically which needs to be done. So we came as well to a stage that we say, okay, we cannot do this anymore alone. We have to hire occasionally a florist in order to really like support us to make all these visual attractive designs ready, fresh on spot for the clients. So basically we have a lot of helpers, or for example, when it comes to our so-called signature drinks. The signature drinks are initially an easy topic. We're talking about like a nice Bellini, a nice Negroni, like a Lillet rosé with Schweppes wild berries. So there's a lot of different like aperitif drinks. However, it cannot be done anymore by a simple waiter, because the complexity and the variation of all these drinks are pretty difficult to prepare. So that's why we have like professional bartenders in our events to support us to create these drinks. So at the end of the day, what is ultra important for our events, while you mentioned like we're following a Michelin star, let's say, ideology, is the perfect preparation of the product in the background. If this is secured, then we can like deliver and showcase a very beautiful product in front of the client. But it cannot be done anymore from people like us who maybe don't have the right profession or don't have the right skills, like the florist. So when we started to work with the florists on our events, it turned out that they have a much better, like, let's say, skill and much better handling on these like designs. So basically our trays and all the decoration on the glasses looks really, really good when a professional florist is doing this. So as I mentioned, like the background work for us is probably a much bigger impact than what you're going to see in front. So this is what we have, let's say, envisioned as our, let's say, most professional background, where we can like produce many things behind the scenes. And when the guests are coming and discovering all these amazing trays and all these beautiful decorated drinks, it has been resulted from a strong background work. Yeah,
and you mentioned a lot of creative input there from your side in trying to create these experiences. What does your process look like in short in creating these things?
You mean how we find the creativity, or
no?
How
I mean your
yeah,
exactly how your creative process behind an event looks. What do you do? Like,
So,
what are the steps that you
yeah.
follow?
Yeah. So first of all, we would love to figure out with the client if we can, let's say, work on their like portfolio or on their like branding strategy. So, for example, like last week we had a menu tasting in Vienna, which was very successful for a Swiss watchmaker, and here we were studying a little bit the company brand guidelines. So based on this, without that the client knew about it, we have basically digged in very deep into their, let's say, portfolio and their branding, their, let's say, how can I explain their creative set, and out of this we basically designed canapé trays and as well cloches for the food, which basically carried the name or at least the logo of the company. So I think what we are missing today, even though in the luxury world, is to align with the client strategy, aligning with the client philosophy. So if I have a client like this on my table, I have to make, or I have to build the bridge between the catering product and the brand philosophy of the company, because the client is inviting again their best clients, and it is all about to put basically the brand in front of their face without again being too much, but rather in a creative way. So this is what we have tried to basically convert on this event. So giving you an example, we created a cloche made from paper where we had like a small light inside the cloche. And basically when we switched on the light, you could see the logo through a small cutted out area in this cloche. And basically when you serve the dish, and the room is like, say, dark, then you can see with a specific color the logo of the company. And then you lift the cloche, and then the cloche will be anyway away. So it's not, again, that you have constantly the brand in front of your face. But I think the client rather appreciates the small efforts where you say, like, how can we bring your product better in front of the client instead of just making a nice canapé and a nice 3-course menu. So I think this is what people really are looking for, and that comes back to how can I service my client better than my competition, because we want to make the extra step, we want to take the extra mile in order to not only creatively complementing the product of the client, but as well how can we please the client's philosophy, and how we can make them feel that we are the right partner for you in the future, not only on this event, because we want to work with you together and not just serving you a good meal with a top Michelin star chef. I think this is in general like what we see as well, a little bit of our niche, how to adapt perfectly to the client needs.
And I think we're seeing that a little bit as well on our side in terms of the customer wanting a higher level of personalization and tailoring in all aspects, including brand and purpose and all things. And I know that you're very out and about and trying to find sort of the next idea and the next big thing within the industry. So what kind of trends do you see in catering and gastronomic events right now, and maybe even like 5 years down the line?
That's a good question. I think I have to be honest, I was like following for a long time, like of course as well, like very big catering brands, and get inspired very much from the US market. But I need to be honest, like if you're not creating yourself something which maybe doesn't exist yet, it makes you always like being a follower. So what I learned as well over time is that sitting together with people with a lot of creative mindsets, brings you more input than just like following other trends which you adapt to your needs. So I think like to create a product which has not written yet or didn't exist yet is much more exciting than just follow any, let's say, social media guidelines. And we converted this really like with our Purple Rain dinner show in Vienna, something which really didn't exist yet. From the scenography to the service style to the drinks. So the entire concept was written out of like one hand. And here we worked, of course, with a professional designer together, which gave a lot of input. And with this input, we have then again created a lot of new items which have not existed in our service yet. So it's great to look around and of course getting inspired from other companies is always going to be helpful. But at the end of the day, it helps you sometimes as well to sit with great creative heads which are coming from art or coming from event design and brainstorm with them together. And you will see these positive impact will be that you create things which didn't exist yet. Because we caterers, we tend, even though we are creative, but we tend very, very much to focus on the food product and how to wrap it around. While the art directors, they're thinking exactly in the opposite. So they think first of all about the design, and then it's your job how you can adapt the food to it. So I think this combination is pretty exciting, and I can like absolute guarantee that this worked out more than perfect in Vienna when we created the show. And I think a combination of both is very healthy. So once that you get like certainly inspired over the web, but on the other side that you are a trend creator, because people are focusing much more on things which don't exist yet. And this is much more attractive and much more visually appealing to the world of events and gastronomy if something don't exist yet. And you get a much higher attention rate. And as well, I think the respect in the industry is as well much more, let's say, renowned. If you are rather a creator than a trend follower.
Yeah, and it plays really well into what you said previously about trying to create these sort of new and surprising elements and exciting elements of the experience. So trying to be a trendsetter instead of a trend follower, then I suppose would be the summary.
That's true.
So we always sort of end up with a closing question in all of our episodes, and I've translated it to English, obviously, for this interview. So what makes an event truly memorable to you?
For me or for the guests? I think, to be honest, I'm always telling to my team the biggest impact and the salary, what we are taking away from the event, is if a client stands up from the table, comes to you and tells you, thank you so much for the evening. You may know how it is when you go to a restaurant and the food was good, the service was great, but kind of like standard but good. Would you say that you would stand up and go to the waiter and say like, thank you, that was such an amazing night what we have?
Probably not.
Or rather like, probably not. And then when the very typical question comes, we hope everything was nice, hope you enjoyed. What do you say? Of course, yes. So everything is always nice, everything is always great. But can you imagine you would stand up from your table in the restaurant, maybe by close to the end, or by the end when you're paying, and you go to the cashier and telling them like it was really like such a wonderful night we had an amazing service, we had amazing food, and everything around was just an experience. This is the thank you and the appreciation for your hard work when that happens. And this happens actually often. And this is for me like an indicator if the event has been successful and has been a memorable experience or not. And this is basically where I'm rating my own events. And I think like if you really think about like how would you act within a restaurant visit or an event visit, I think on an event it is even actually more rare because you're coming there in a group. Would you come from your 10 pax table to the manager and would say like, what an amazing evening? I think it's even more rare. So we take this as our appreciation. If that happens, then we impact it on the client and experience, which he will definitely take home, speak about, and keep thinking about. So and this drivers keeps us basically always motivated to continue our creative mindset and actually giving something back to the people. You have to understand, maybe like my sickness is a little bit that I always want to create something memorable for the people. It doesn't matter on what level of my company, but I always want to give something good. I want them to feel good. I treat them like my family. When I came from my home, basically, my mother was always cooking, actually, until today. She's like 80, and she's still doing her, let's say, seasonal cooking get-togethers for friends and family. So sometimes we have like 20-25 people sitting on a table, and everyone gets a personal touch. Everyone gets a little small amuse-bouche, and she's not doing it on a professional way. She never learned how to cook, but she cooks her whole life, and that's, of course, mommy food is the best food, as you all know. But it's more about the hosting. And this is something what stuck so much in my brain that when I started my career with age 15, as I told you, it was never a question that I wanted to do anything else. I wanted to host people, and I wanted to make them feel special, welcome, and like feeling so much at home. And now I created out of this feeling is basically my platform, my pillar on what is driving me most in the business. And out of this, I created basically a big experience around that pillar. So first, how you can like really let them feel special and welcome. And at the same time, how I can create a very special experience around that ground feeling. So this is maybe like a combination which works out. And this is something which is naturally driven. And I always believe, like some people are made for specific jobs. I was born to, let's say, host events.
That's amazing. And I think you're from what I've seen, you're doing really well, and you're well on your way to achieve what you set out to do as well. And I just wanted to anyone who's listening, I just want to, if you want some inspiration and especially around the visuals, around food and gastronomic events, make sure you check out Experience by Terra website and also their Instagram page, which is a great source of inspiration, I think. And thank you so much for coming on the show, Falko. It was great hearing your story.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.